Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of How It's Made here at PEG. Today we're going to be looking at an effect we recently did for the Carolina Hurricanes. This was for their player headshots, and the idea was that we were going to be seeing a billboard on a very rainy day, or you could say, in the middle of a hurricane would be a good example. During this rainy day, the idea is that you would not only be seeing rain that is reflected throughout the actual headshot, and throughout the 3D movement in the scene, but also on the screen as if it was a camera lens. I'll show you a little bit about how we did that, and yeah, let's check it out. So this is our finished product here. As you can see, we have some rain going in the entire surrounding area, as well as these nice water droplet effects on the screen. Really kind of looks like this 3D camera we have here really is in the middle of a storm. And yeah, and this will loop back. Great. Now, let's just take a quick look at how we did this in After Effects. This is one of those effects that actually might, at first look harder than it really is to do. Part of it's easy, I guess I should say, and part of it's hard. So let's look first at the actual water droplets. This is the easier of the two with one little caveat. So this water droplet is basically just here as a layer in After Effects, like a lot of 3D bales and animations we do. This was made in Cinema 4D, and then some of the finishing and post-processing work was done in Adobe After Effects. That's pretty standard for, I would say, nearly any Cinema 4D animation, setup, what have you. You just get a lot more control in After Effects, so that's what you see here. So you'll see sort of towards the bottom here, that's our actual image sequence. And then we have all of the camera and light data, and a lot of these light flares and effects and everything are done in After Effects. So let's take a look at the actual water droplets. The water droplets themselves are actually just a movie file. And you'll see what these are, might be a little hard to see on the screen, is some gray cloudy images that have a little bit of feathering around the outside edge. Now what these are doing is they're providing just some contrast against an alpha, transparent background. And we're going to need that because that's kind of what water does. It obscures a little bit of light and it makes it just a hair darker. But this alone is not going to sell our scene. I mean, it's a decent start in terms of it does look better than without them. But you're not going to get some of that nice wrapping that you saw on the actual finished product. To do that, we're going to add another layer. And this is admittedly a little hard to look at in real time because it is such an intensive scene. If we go to this other layer, water droplets displacement here, what this is doing is this is utilizing an effect called a displacement map. And what that's looking at is looking at the dark values of another layer in the scene. In this case, we're utilizing water droplets, that movie file. And it's going to work as an adjustment layer, so on everything below it. And that's going to really sell the rest of the scene in terms of that little wrapping effect you'll see that just comes into play when we turn this on. That really wraps that light just like it would if you accidentally had water on your camera lens. So that's the actual camera lens element. Now, in terms of the rain, that one's a little trickier. We're utilizing a plugin here called Trapcode Particular. And what this is doing is it's generating rain basically as we move throughout the scene. Now, you might be wondering, well, why is it important that we use Particular to do rain versus just downloading a rain file from a stock footage website, what have you? Well, the main reason we do that is because it's pretty well exclusively for the fact that it reacts to the camera system correctly. So what we do is we take actual camera file out of Cinema 4D, a camera reference image, and we utilize that to then bring into After Effects. You'll see that's right here, camera. And this camera is what Particular is ultimately using as a reference point. So we build basically a big environment that the emitter is putting all this rain out, and then a camera flies through it in After Effects with an identical motion path to what happens in Cinema 4D. And that's how you get this actual rain that looks like as the camera moves left and right, the effect is being sold as it's moving around the corners. Now, these two effects, as you probably saw in After Effects, they're actually two completely different effects in terms of, well, the rain that's in the background and the rain that's on the camera lens aren't tied to the same layer per se. They're done with, one's using a plugin, one's using some footage, one's using a built-in effect that plays off the footage. All these effects come together to really sell the illusion and the really nice end result. But this end scene is in the middle of a hurricane. That's it, guys. Thanks again for joining us in another episode of How It's Made with PEG. We'll see you in the next one.